when I went through that process and I actually got to speak with some of the other focal point owners, every single one of them was so positive. Going back to me not wanting to be anybody else in that room that I was in as a government employee, like these were all the people that I wanted to be when I grow up.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to the latest edition of FranCoach's Franchising 101 podcast. I am Tim Parmeter, founder and CEO of FranCoach and your podcast host. Today is one of our installments of the segment we call In Their Words. I know I'm a broken record. I love these. No offense to all of our other guests. Because in this segment, we're going to talk directly to FranCoach clients who have now become franchise owners. We're going to hear all about their background, what led them to consider franchise ownership, how they navigated the process, and then which franchise they chose and how has it gone so far. This one's been in business for just over a year and absolutely slaying it. And we're going to hear a little bit about his journey, what's helped him lead to success, even some of those challenges and mistakes that he's made along the way, because yes, you are going to make those as a franchise owner. Before we get to his story, let's quick reminder of who we are. FranCoach is the premier franchise consulting firm. Our number one goal is not to sell you anything. We don't sell stuff at FranCoach. We're here to educate you. Number one goal, properly educate you on franchise ownership to determine if you should own one. If so, we're going to help you figure out what is your best fit. Not anybody else's, folks. This is your chance to be selfish without getting in trouble. What's your best fit? All right, everyone, we are back with our guest and the rock star of rock stars joining us today, Focal Point business coaching owner, Eric McConaty. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
People say excited. I'm always like, man, that is a lot of pressure. So we'll see. I am genuinely like this kind of the same word. Excited to have you on and share your story. But also, like, a lot of times when we get folks on, it's just kind of at the beginning of this. It's still the honeymoon phase. You've been open and operating for a year, so we got to get the dirt and the tea, as the kids say, on what that experience has been like. So I want to get into all of that, but as you found out already, franchising and just franchise ownership, the industry in general, this is a people business. And so I always like getting to know a little bit about the people. So who the heck is, like, before franchising, who the heck is Eric? Give us a little scoop on your background.
Yeah. So actually, before I jump into that, I just wanted to say, thank you for having me on here. This podcast, really, I mean, I listen to a ton of podcasts, and this is the one that actually changed my life. So I want to say thank you for that, and thank you for having me on here. And I'll get your information after this, and I'm going to send you one of the first copies of the book that's coming out here shortly.
Nice.
Is a way to say thank you. And then just kind of jumping into my background before franchising. So I'm a knuckle dragger. And so military background, and currently still in the National Guard. I'm an intelligence analyst, so basically trying to predict what the enemy is going to do. And then on the other side of that, in my civilian career, I was a government employee, and I was in a senior management role. I got promoted very quickly with that, and it gave me kind of this unique perspective that I'm not sure a lot of people in the military or the government get. In the senior management role, I was the guy that creates strategy and policy for other people to implement. And then in my military role, I was the guy that was implementing the strategy or policy that somebody else created. So it gave me this unique perspective where I could see where there were sort of fissures within the system, and where things start to fall apart. And the further you get up in the government, the further away from the people that are actually doing it you actually are. So you don't really know what that means. And a lot of times bureaucracy gets in the way, and people get more focused on getting a policy or strategy done rather than if it can actually be achieved.
Right.
And then so I just kind of came up with this idea. What if I took the best parts of the military, being the guy that has to get a team together and implement a plan, and brought that to the government side, and then brought the strategic and planning perspective from the government to the military side. And then what I noticed is on both roles there, everything got better. And so that's what really started getting the wheels turning on. If I can do this in the government, where inefficiency is kind of a badge of honor, then it would probably work if I did it in a business.
Gotcha. Well, first off, thank you for your service. And that had to be an interesting dynamic from starting out as the person out there actually implementing, somebody sitting in an office, what they thought, to then getting into that office. Like how much did that go into your mind of like, you're now all of a sudden you're sitting there affecting what somebody else is doing maybe halfway around the country. Were you able to still put yourselves back into those original shoes? What was that process like for you?
I certainly could, because the role I had in the government was writing the policy for the role that I had in the military. So when I was crafting those things, it really came down to, could I actually do this as like just an actual achievable thing? And then can I get other people to buy into it? And then just the strategic planning process that you learn to be able to write strategy is really applicable to how you can actually lead junior soldiers too. Because everybody wants to be informed. Everybody wants to know what's going on, why things are happening. Right. And how it ties to the bigger picture. So it actually gave me kind of an advantage when sometimes by the time it gets down to the unit level, things get watered down so much, and people can just, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And, right. And dissent comes across the platoon. But being able to be like, we're doing this because it supports this bigger initiative or this bigger goal, really helped in that aspect as well.
Yeah. The days of the leadership of, because I said so, just not completely gone, right? But it's dying off, and just being able to, like, the why behind everything, like people can like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go, right? And really, again, build that team up. And so that leadership thing has been inbred in you, and you're obviously doing really well with your job within the government. But what's kind of prompted you to think, hey, maybe there's something more outside of this for me? Maybe there's an opportunity to do something for myself. What kind of started that in your mind?
Yeah. So, my ladder was on the wrong building, I guess, was the way I'll start that. And so I guess kind of to go through that whole journey there. I grew up in a really small town, and very blue collar town. And it seemed like the only friends that I had whose parents had any kind of money, their parents worked on the Navy base that was nearby. And so I just, and that was always like the saying growing up was like, oh, you got to go get one of those good government jobs. And so like that was just in my head. That was the only example of success that I had. And so when I got off active duty, that's what I set out to do. And then I did that, and I climbed up the civilian ranks very quickly. And then I found myself basically at the pinnacle of the GS scale, and I was young, and I just realized that it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. And then the other part, at the same time, when I first met with you, I had a newborn. I don't know if you remember that. I had at the time, a 1.5-year-old and a newborn. And it really just gave me some time to think about, I guess, what I wanted to be in their eyes. And really, I just wanted to be a dad that they could be proud of. And when I think of, if they're going to go to school and tell their friends, my dad's a government employee or my dad owns a business,
Right.
I wanted them to see me taking a risk and going out and doing something that I wanted to do rather than kind of what I was stuck doing.
Yeah.
And then I guess to tie things in and to how I got into franchising, I'd initially looked at starting a business from scratch and quickly got overwhelmed with the amount of things that there's too many things that I could do, I guess.
Right.
And then too many things that needed to happen. And I just got overwhelmed on being able to decide what to do. So I looked at coming up on 17 years in the Army total, and going back to that perspective of the enlisted guy implement somebody else's plan. And when I came across franchising, somebody else already created the plan. I just have to do it.
Right. Yes.
And so it made a logical thing, a logical step for me to look into franchising. And so I started scrolling through, reading about franchising, and I came across Franchising 101 podcast.
Wait, what was the name of that podcast again, Eric? I don't think it's a little louder for those in the back. So, no, it's cool, and it's why the folks with military background like yourself tend to do really well as franchise owners for just that reason, right? Like, here's the plan, right? And even now, if they look, hey, this is why you do this, right? Put your head down, work hard, follow the plan, right? You got to figure stuff out from time to time, but have the discipline to do so and still have the support around you. You probably don't have anybody in focal point that's helping you and supporting you, that's yelling and screaming at you and telling you to drop and do 50 push-ups or anything. Although you said this off like the annual conference recently, they're trying to get you to do pull-ups because you got your little pull-up challenge going, right? But it's a different type of support, but it's still there for you. So that's cool. And you mentioned the kid thing, and it's just yeah. And like, even as we were talking before we hit the like kind of went live with this, was I kind of forgot how long it's been since we first started talking, and how little those kids are and how fast they're growing up now. But they will absolutely see, like, and some people, like, and you use the word risk, right? Is it a risk? Maybe. I mean, it's sure as hell less risky than what you grew up doing, right? From that standpoint, but they're going to see you grew up knowing, oh, let me get a good government job and I've made it in the world. And there's nothing wrong with that, but they're going to see they can create their own path in whatever way they want. And having my kid grown up just seeing me do, be a business owner and do everything in franchising, like, he knows, like, hey, go to school, do, whatever, get a job. That's great. Have business ideas, do all of those things. It just, there's a level of, like, open up their mind to what is actually possible, because, like, they're going to see dads of awesome business owners. So super cool for you with that. And
just to add to the exact point where I decided to go forward with this, because I don't know if you remember, I was still sort of on the fence whether or not I was going to do it. And it was almost like I don't know how to explain it, but I went into a meeting and I looked at all of the senior government employees at the table around me, and they're the highest level, the most senior people in the organization. I just looked around the room and I realized that I didn't want to be any of those people when I grew up. They just kind of had a resting, sad face. And had just kind of been beat down by the system for 30, 40 years. And I remember looking around and making the decision right there. And I left that meeting, went out into the parking lot, called yeah, I called you, I guess, and was like, hey, let's do this. And so that was how it went. It was really just that was the moment that pushed me over the edge.
Yeah. There's always some certain little pain and then an inflection point along the way. And then I always think when you go back to, like, I gotta like scroll back through all my Eric notes on the iPad to one of the things we always talk about at the beginning of this journey is like, why do you want to do this, right? What do you see as some of those advantages? And you had really strong whys, but I think that moment in that meeting, I'm like, I don't want to be, nothing wrong with those people. I don't want to be them. I want something more, right? And to have that overall control of what you're doing. We looked at other franchises. Do you like? Can you? I know it's been a while, but you think back to that time, like what was it about Focal Point that really kind of resonated with you? Because again, there was also that in your mind, like, well, maybe I could just do this myself. But what was it about Focal Point and kind of what their brand is all about that really aligned for you?
Yeah, so 100% the culture, and I think when you initially revealed the three different franchises, initially I had Focal Point either number 2 or 3, and after I met with everybody, it became very clear very quickly that they were different. The I guess I don't know what the next questions are going to be, but
Me either.
So I think when I went through that process and I actually got to speak with some of the other Focal Point owners, every single one of them was so positive.
Yeah.
And it was going back to me not wanting to be anybody else in that room that I was in as a government employee. Like these were all the people that I wanted to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
And then the other part was the impact. They all talked about the impact that they have on their clients, and that just is something that really resonated with me. Like if I'm going to do something, I'm going to spend all my time doing it, or a good portion of my day and my life doing it. I want it to have an impact and make a difference for the people that I'm serving. And that's just where Focal Point stood out above the other companies or other franchises that I spoke with.
Yeah. It's one of the hidden things in franchising that some of the behind the scenes stuff of a culture is, probably an overused buzzword, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Right. And how, like, especially as you get through the process, and sometimes you're literally in the room with them or it's virtual, but I always say, like, do you feel like you're in the right room with the right people? Is that the other owners? Is that the people on their team, the leadership, et cetera? But they've done a very good job, and certainly kudos to Focal Point CEO Steve Thompson for just the leadership of that organization. They are positive, impact driven, very collaborative, and I want you to share a little bit about what that's been. But the owners don't just sit there and go, like, you ask another owner a question, like, the heck with you, I'll figure it out yourself. They're just very open and willing to be able to have those conversations back and forth, versus what was probably not the most open-minded, collaborative, outside-the-box thinking you were dealing with in the government position, right? So did you have that kind of experience with them as well?
Yes, certainly. And I guess kind of speaking to, I guess it's probably going to be the next question is of how it's been. So
Dude, I love you think I've got a plan, right? I'm just like winging it. No, but that's actually a really good question, Eric. Let me ask that. So Eric, what's your experience been like so far as a franchise owner?
Yeah, and so my experience has been nothing short of fantastic. And so the support that I get from Focal Point it's incredible. Um, I mean, from their ongoing support for all new franchisees um, throughout the first year. But the other part is like the network of coaches that they're just constantly willing to help. There's been times that I've been with clients that are in an industry that I'm not familiar with at all, and I can reach out and somebody will chime back in with some ideas, and then I've actually had them come into calls with me into client sessions and provide input, and nobody's ever pushed back, or nobody's like, oh, that's not my job, like that. I'm not getting paid for this.
Right.
It's nothing like that. It's just only support. And I'll tell you the first conference that I went to with them, there was a point in there that everyone was so positive and there was so much energy, like positive energy in the room. I almost had to question for a minute. Did I just join a cult?
Eric, would you like some more Kool-Aid? Here you go.
Yeah. The positivity is unmatched. And we just got back from our annual conference this week. And the speakers that were there said the same thing, that they spoke at other coaching organizations, and they're like, something's different here.
Yeah.
And it's tangible. It's a noticeable difference. Not only do I feel it as a franchisee, but like all the people that are coached by a Focal Point coach feel it too.
Yeah. Yep. Without question. I think we talk about the support. There's two pieces of that. One, and this is, I think, overlooked and not talked about nearly enough. And I'll take some blame on that because I'm going to say it's not talked about enough, but then I don't talk about it more, is other franchise owners in the system, right? The franchisor has the training, the plan, there's, resources, there's people there to help you, but there is nobody better than other franchise owners because they're literally like walking your existence, right? And are there some brands out there that are not open and super collaborative? Yes, right? There absolutely are. Does that mean they're bad brands? No, because there's some people that are like, no, just let me be on my island, right? But Focal Point has created that collaboration piece for that. But the other thing is, if there's all these support structures and people don't, as an owner, you're not using them, and then you turn around and go, oh, the franchise isn't helping me, like, and I know you've got a couple things that you're doing, and maybe your area, your state or something, where you've got kind of some mastermind groups that you're on, and then there aren't always all the other owners on there where you're not utilizing the expertise and the support. It's really like, again, as a franchise owner, if they're offering you help and support and you're not taking it, then you kind of don't get to bitch about it not going well with this. And again, kudos to you for like tapping into all of that. And again, being willing to ask questions. Sometimes people are scared to do that, but you got to raise your hand every now and then. And again, you're doing that, but you're also in an environment where there are people that are willing to jump in and help, which is pretty darn cool. What was it like at the beginning, right? So I want to go back to actually two things. So you talk about that not being in the right room at that meeting you referenced at your last job, and then feeling like you were in the right room within Focal Point. Did you have a moment of, man, I want to be these people, but I don't know if I can be that person? Was there any doubt in that because I've heard this before with Focal Point owners that have been around, probably any industry, they make it look easy, right? Did you have any of that kind of question or maybe even a little fear of, geez, can I really do this?
Certainly. Still do. So, I mean, sort of a common theme, but when I first met with several of the other Focal Point owners, I was significantly younger than most of them. And what I realized is a lot of them had already been CEOs or were retired or just a lot further along in life than I am.
Right.
And so that was where like the doubt and the imposter syndrome started to creep in. And I was like, well, I mean, they have so much experience, they can do things I can't do. And
Right.
and really just almost talking myself out of it and like talking myself down. But then when I push through and I look at, I always talk about, I keep like a mental rucksack. And so every hard thing I do in life, I put it in the rucksack. And so when I get into these situations where self-doubt creeps in, I can start pulling things out of that rucksack and say like, no, wait, I've done this. I've done hard things. I've done whatever it is. And I can remind myself that I'm capable of doing those things. I just need to put effort towards it. And so that was the biggest thing for me was the fact that I had never owned a business before. I didn't have a full 30-year career in a specific industry before this. Right. And I'm coming out of an environment in the military and the government that is so rigid and inside the box that I wasn't sure if I would be able to provide value to a business owner. But once again, I went back to that rucksack, pushed through it, and everybody says the same thing: follow the plan. And I just followed the plan, and it works.
Yeah, it does. It's funny. The phrase imposter syndrome, I like, I don't know when that became like, I feel like that just became a phrase we use over the last few years, or maybe I just was not paying attention to it. But and it comes up in franchising. I'm telling you, it comes up almost every person we have look at Focal Point. At some point, there is that moment of imposter syndrome, because I swear their owners just make it look easy, and it's not easy, right? But it's the trick is for anything and for anybody is you got to find what's your best fit, right? And so you felt comfortable in the room. You've been in leadership roles. You've been that person that's kind of tried to solve problems. And that kind of helped lead you to Focal Point. Now, as an owner of Focal Point, and you're out there trying to get clients and then working with them, do you still feel like this is kind of in your sweet spot of what you are good at and what you enjoy doing?
Certainly, but my wife jokes with me, like when I get done working with clients, like I'm energized, and I come back like positive, and I'm talking about the impact or the aha moment that they had, and this and that, and how this is really going to help them, or if they get a big win, and like I can like celebrate that, and I'll be excited talking about work, and then she's talking about her job, and she's like, like I'm not that excited about mine. Like, you must really like what you do. And so
she should own a franchise. I know a guy who can help her, by the way.
I'll tell her to look into this, the number one franchising podcast, Franchising 101.
Yes, please do. But no, it's good that, because it really is, it's the day in the life of like, it's what you're doing every day, the people you're around, right? Staff, if you have any customers out in the community, obviously within that franchisor, and then it really is up to you. So, and you're probably a little too shy to say this, but in talking to people within Focal Point, you're absolutely like blowing the curve out of the water for how an owner should be doing in their first year, which awesome. Congratulations on that. But I'm guessing it hasn't all been rainbows and unicorns, right? So like, and again, you're talking about like being at that conference and all the Kool-Aid being consumed, right? Like what was something that happened early that was like, may have been a particular challenge or something that you weren't quite ready for?
So I think my approach to this right from the get-go was I broke down, like, trying to do everything seemed too big. So I broke down the specific task that I needed to do with the franchise. And that was, I needed to learn how to market, I needed to learn how to sell, and I needed to learn how to coach. And so I spent once I had made the decision, all of my time went into reading the top books on each of those three areas. So I just Googled top books on marketing, and I found like 10 of them. And while I was running or exercising or whatever, I would listen to all the marketing books that I could. And then once I had a grasp and understood how marketing worked, then I moved into sales, and then 10 books on sales. And then coaching, a little harder to find books on coaching specifically. I found everything I could on that piece. But it really gave me like a foundation to build on. And then when I went out to actually implement it, because now that I've read 10 books on marketing, I think that I know how to market.
Right. You're an expert, clearly, right?
Yeah. And then when I got out and actually tried to do it, of course, pick up things in books that are different from what the franchise actually says to do.
Right.
And of course, I'm brand new and I know better. So I go out and I try things that are not recommended and didn't work. And
no way. You don't say, right?
Turns out they were right. I should have just listened to their plan and did that. So I think specifically to point out, I don't necessarily like. I know the biggest thing that they tell us is that you got to get out and talk to people. And in my head, I thought I could talk to people on LinkedIn, and I'm just going to post a whole bunch, and people are just going to come flocking to me.
Yes,
and that's not the case. So I failed fast in a couple different areas, and then learned from each one of those things. So I would always take notes. The first couple sales calls that I had, some of them didn't go well at all. And it was kind of like my biggest fear was like, I'm going to get into a sales call, I'm going to look like an idiot. And they're going to tell everybody how much of an idiot I am. And that's not the case. I mean, I had a call that went bad. And then afterwards I did what we call in the military an after action review. And I just highlighted what went well, what didn't go well, like what I can do better next time. And guess what? That guy never told anybody how bad I sucked.
Yeah, it's crazy because sometimes I think you got to embrace the suck basically, because I don't care whatever we do at the first time we do it, we're not good at it. And being able to get over the fear of making those mistakes, and again, kudos to you for taking the time. Like, it wasn't one of those, you didn't go, well, that guy sucked, right? Like, no, it was me. Somewhere in there was still something good. And sometimes it's just the reps of like doing it so we get better at it.
Yep, certainly. And I mean, that was the important part. It was trying something and then looking at the results and then figuring out, okay, that didn't work. I'm not going to keep spending time on something that's not working.
Right.
And getting better each time.
So you read all these books. So let's give you a little plug here. You wrote a book, and that is coming out this summer. Is that correct?
Yes. I have the first proof copy right here with me. I don't know if that's going to show up on there. Business Boot Camp.
Nice. What might it be about?
Yep. So it is, I guess, everything that I've learned from all the books that I read on everything. But really, it was as I get out and I talk to people, like providing service to the community and providing service to the people that I work with is a key part of what I do. And so a lot of times I'll meet people that just can't afford coaching or maybe don't want it, whatever the case is. But it doesn't mean that they shouldn't still have a resource that can help them.
Right.
And so now I've done this with a bunch of different clients, and I'm continually learning. And this was an opportunity for me to sharpen my own sword on the areas that I may have been weaker in. And so I put it all into the book, into basically the Army's uh, training phases. So if you go through boot camp, you start out in red phase, and then you move to blue phase, and then you go to white phase, and then you get gold phase, and at each one of those phases, you're progressing in towards mastery of whatever the skill is. And so that's exactly how the book is outlined. So it's littered with personal stories in there from things that from my personal life, from military experience, from customer experiences. And then I go through on the actual research and data that supports whatever that concept is for that chapter, whether it's strategy or marketing or sales, and explain like what actually makes a good marketing plan, and then walk through how to do it. And then I have AI prompts throughout it too. So you can go and actually put that in and start implementing things right away.
Oh, nice.
But I don't know if I've ever worked harder on one single thing. So I'm really excited for that to come out June 10th. It'll be available on Amazon.
Excellent.
And
cool. Well, congratulations on that. That is it is a lot of hard work for that. So congratulations. I will look forward to, not buying it and just getting my free copy. So on that. But no, super cool. And I want to throw one last thing at you. I appreciate all of your time, because I know you're just running crazy with everything. In fact, I think you said you're even at one of your clients' offices right now. Like, so you got to get in there and get some coaching going. But you've kind of gone full cycle from like being an employee, thinking about, do I start something? Is it a franchise? Going through the whole process, and now franchise owner. So somebody's sitting out there kind of where you were a couple years back, not sure what to do, if they should do anything. What would be a piece of advice you would give? Like maybe it's the Eric from 2 years ago, right? Sitting out there listening to this. What's the word of wisdom you would give them?
I continue to listen to the number one franchising podcast, Franchising 101.
My hype man, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think the core to any endeavor is you have to have a strong enough why. And I think that's something that when I went through the process with you, that was the first time that I'd really ever been coached. And in identifying a why that was strong enough to make me take the leap is really, I think, what anyone can do. If you boil it down far enough and you actually get a strong enough why, that's what's going to get you out of bed in the morning. That's what's going to make you go to work when you don't want to go to work. That's going to make you stay up late and do the things that you need to do. And ultimately, if the why is strong enough, then you will be successful, because you're not going to let that fail.
Yep. No, absolutely. I know. I let the. I'm with you. I think it is those two things more than anything. It is that why, and then understanding you're the one that's going to get your butt out of bed every day and go do this. Like this is such the most individualized, personalized thing, almost where we need to be selfish in trying to find that perfect thing. Because what's best for you? I love the team at Focal Point. We've had a bunch of FranCoach clients that are now Focal Point owners. I would be a miserable owner of Focal Point. I would be bad at all the things that I have to do for that. So doesn't mean that's a bad franchise. Doesn't mean I shouldn't own one. It might mean the latter, but it doesn't mean the former for that. So kudos to you for how you've gone through all of this. And I'm not the least bit surprised you are knocking it out of the park, and know you'll continue to do so. If somebody's out there, maybe you're not thinking about franchise ownership, you're already a business owner, and like, oh my gosh, how do I grow my business and improve it? Perhaps also they could reach out to Eric and his Focal Point business, because you can actually work with people anywhere in the world with your business, correct?
Certainly. They can reach out to me, Eric McConaty, Focal Point businesscoaching.com. I have Eric at tgscoaching.com. So you can find me online. I'm available. Or on LinkedIn, Eric McConaty.
Doing much better posts on LinkedIn now than the beginning. But all good stuff. And June 10th, the book comes out, Business Boot Camp. Eric, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on, and congratulations for all your success.
Hey, thank you for having me on. Thank you for having this podcast. It really does change people's lives.
Thank you so much. And thanks for everybody else for listening today as well. Thanks again to Eric for joining us. And if you're a business owner out there and you need some business coaching, like Eric is going to hook you up. Eric McConaty at Focal Point Coaching. Thanks to him. So excited and just really proud of what he's been able to do as a franchise owner, and ready to kind of kick back and see how he continues to grow. We hope that our podcast, as always, provides some level of insight into the amazing possibilities that can be achieved as a franchise owner. Check us out to learn more. All of our podcasts, you can certainly find them where you're already subscribed. Don't forget our YouTube channel. You can do that. You can click right here on the link. All of our podcasts, tons of other videos, all of our TV episodes, the Franchising 360 show. There's some bonus footage there as well. TV shows every Friday, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. But again, you can check it out on the YouTube as well. And then our website is francoach.net. So everything with this podcast is FranCoach. Our team is there to help you when you're ready to take that step, have a conversation, learn a little bit more, see if this is for you. We're here to help. There's never any fee for our service. So reach out today so we can help you create your better tomorrow. Until next week, this is the Franchising 101 podcast. See you soon.